This bonus episode about modern monetary theory was released on the 17th of September, 2025, and produced on the lands of the Wangal and Gadigal people.
Welcome to this special episode of New Politics. I'm your host, David Lewis, and today I'll be examining a topic that's as timely as ever in 2025, modern monetary theory, or MMT.
So what you're telling me indirectly is modern monetary theory isn't going to take care of this problem.
I was going to say something I shouldn't say on television. That's garbage.
We've had quite a few requests over the years to cover it, and as the economies of the world don't seem to be up to the challenges they're facing, I thought it might be worthwhile to examine the concept of MMT. MMTs about unlimited fiscal firepower are sparking renewed debates. Today we'll be diving into its theoretical foundations, recent developments, real-world applications, and the fierce criticism it faces. We'll explore how MMT has evolved amid 2025's economic landscape, including new seminars, policy experiments, and scholarly critiques. Let's get into it. First, a look at MMT's core framework. Modern monetary theory isn't just an economic idea, it's a paradigm shift in how we view sovereign currencies. Developed in the 1990s by economists like Warren Mosler, Bill Mitchell, and Randall Wray, MMT builds on historical concepts like Georg, Friedrich, Knapp's Shuttleism from 1905. That posits that money's value stems from state power, not intrinsic worth. Abba Lerner's functional finance from the 1940s emphasizes government budgets as tools for full employment rather than balancing books. At its heart, MMT asserts that for monetarily sovereign governments, those issuing its own fiat currency, like the US, UK, Japan, or Australia, the constraint isn't solvency, but inflation and real resource availability. These governments can't run out of money because they create it via spending, which injects currency into the economy. Taxes then withdraw excess money to curb inflation, redistribute wealth, and ensure currency demand rather than funding spending. Delving deeper into the principles, monetary sovereignty is key. Currencies must control their currency without fixed exchange rate or foreign-dominated debt. The Eurozone, for example, lacks this, as member states can't independently print euros, leading to austerity pitfalls during crises. MMT views unemployment as a policy choice. Involuntary joblessness signals insufficient government spending to achieve full employment. A cornerstone proposal is the Job Guarantee, a federal program acting as an employer of last resorts, offering living wage jobs in public works, environmental care, or community services when private demand falters. This stabilizes wages, acting as an automatic stabilizer, and anchors inflation better than traditional unemployment buffers. Inflation, not debt, is the true limit. Governments can spend up to the economy's productive capacity, unused labour, factories, resources, without price spikes. Beyond that, taxes or spending cuts rein it in. Sectoral balances tie it together. Government deficits create private surpluses, fostering savings and investment. Bonds, they're not borrowing, but a tool for interest rate management or private savings options. MMT's history traces back further than many realise, synthesizing post-Keynesian ideas with Wynne-Godley sectoral balances from the 1990s. It gained mainstream traction post-2008 financial crisis and exploded during COVID-19 with trillions in stimulus seemingly validating defense spending without immediate collapse. Stephanie Kelton's 2020 bestseller, The Deficit Myth, popularized it, influencing figures like the United States Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for policies like the Green New Deal.
5 years ago, we introduced a vision for social and ecological transformation big enough to save our planet, the Green New Deal. The critics jumped against it immediately. They said it was an impossible dream, too impractical, not serious enough, and they were wrong. In the last 5 years, we have made major strides in tackling the climate crisis and creating millions of jobs by building together a diverse coalition of people committed to a better future.
Key figures include Mosler, who framed currency as a state monopoly explaining unemployment, who integrated it with post-Keynesian economics, Mitchell, who co-authored the first MMT textbook in 2019, and Pavlova Cherneva, who put it into a mathematical framework and who championed job guarantees. Bringing it forward to 2025, MMT continues evolving amid sluggish global growth and debates over fiscal responses to climate and inequality. In February, the Levi Economics Institute published The Rise of the Modern Monetary System, integrating credit and state money approaches, arguing for a unified view of endogenous money creation. July saw a major seminar in China on MMT and the launch of the new macroeconomics, hosted by the Levy Institute, discussing applications in emerging economies. Bill Mitchell's blog highlighted UK's construction slowdown as evidence of austerity's failures, advocating MMT-style spending to boost demand. A May article explored MMT for Canada, emphasising sovereignty enabling bold spending on healthcare and green transitions without debt fears. Harvard hosted an event questioning if MMT can help in depressed times, blending theory with policy. Empirically, a 2025 paper tested MMT against post-crisis US data, finding it partially fits, but warning of inflation risks in full employment scenarios. Real-world applications abound, though. Japan remains Exhibit A. Debt to GDP over 250%, yet low inflation and low rates, thanks to sovereignty. In the US, MMT informed COVID stimulus and infrastructure bills, shifting focus from pay-fors to resource constraints. Developing nations like India debate fiscal space for infrastructure, while China's investments echo MMT's growth through spending ethos. The pros are compelling. MMT unlocks ambitious policies, universal healthcare, climate action, job guarantees, by reframing how do we pay as do we have the resources. It prioritizes full employment, reducing inequality and poverty, and it avoids austerity's pitfalls, as seen in Europe's post-2008 woes. In 2025's uncertain recovery, MMT defends against deflationary traps, empowering governments to invest in green jobs amid climate emergency. Proponents like Kelton argue it demystifies economics, fostering public demands for better policies. Yet criticisms are sharp and multifaceted. Mainstream economists like Paul Krugman call it free lunchonomics, warning of unanchored inflation from unchecked spending, dismissing MMT's inflation controls as naive. 2019 Chicago Booth survey unanimously rejected MMT's deficit nonchalance. Austrian critics, like Robert Murphy in a 2025 Mises podcast, labelled it dead wrong, arguing deficits crowd out private investment. Post-Keynesians like Thomas Pally see it as oversimplified Keynesianism, lacking robust inflation theory and ignoring fiscal monetary conflicts. Environmentalists critique its growth imperative, potentially exacerbating ecological crises. For emerging economies, critics warn of external vulnerabilities like capital flight or current account deficits, deeming MMT irresponsible without full sovereignty. Politically, handing printing presses to elected officials risks abuse, eroding currency trust, and spiking rates if markets rebel. Historical ghosts like Weimar hyperinflation haunt debates, though MMTers counter that they lack sovereignty anyway. Defences? Well, there's a few. MMTers retort its descriptive reality. Governments already monetize deficits without doom and prescriptive for equity. In 2025, amid low growth, it counters austerity hawks with evidence from Japan's stability and US stimulus successes. Critics overlook how MMT integrates inflation anchors like job guarantees and taxes. As Kelton notes, it's about using money as a public tool, not a scarce commodity. In September 2025, with debt ceilings looming and inflation debates raging, MMT challenges us to rethink fiscal myths. Is it a game changer for equitable growth or a path to instability? The evidence is mixed, but ignoring it means missing tools for pressing crises.
This bonus episode about modern monetary theory was presented by David Lewis. Thanks for listening in, and we'll be back for our regular podcast episode on Saturday.